Good evening, everyone. Everyone give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay. We're just about to get started. Just gonna let a few more people in. Okay, good number. Okay, well, let's get started. By now, you should have all prepared your dinner. The menu is such a gorgeous highlight, isn't it, of Ontario at this time of year? Every chef I know is most excited and inspired in these wonderful spring, summer months. I hope you've made use of our instructional video as well that we sent with the link. Took all of the questions out of cooking the lovely, lovely three-course dinner. My name is Kathleen. I'm the Director of Events and Catering here at Ascari Hospitality Group. For those of you joining us for the first time, just a quick bit of history. We are a Toronto-based restaurant company, and over the course of this very unpredictable year, our dedicated team of passionate hospitality professionals have been keeping so busy designing new ways of bringing our signature style of warmth and genuine hospitality to you at home. From world-class wine dinners like this, themed menus and meal kits, a host of corporate virtual experiences, and even a bustling online shop, Mercatino Ivini. Please be sure to check out all of our offerings and book your patio reservation now at our website, ascarihg.com. And to stay up to date on all of our awesome programming, follow us on Ascari, follow us on Instagram at AscariHG if you haven't done so already. Before we begin, I just have a few shout outs to send out to our lovely audience tonight. We wanted to say happy 27th anniversary to the Chu household. Happy retirement, Martha. Love David, Mary, Mike, and Carissa. Happy birthday, Tanya Little, from our very own Olivia. And also a very happy Father's Day coming up very soon to all the dads out there on the call tonight. Also, just a few obligatory housekeeping tips. Please continue to keep your mics on mute. The hustle and bustle really does compete with the audio. But feel free throughout the talk tonight to type in any of your questions into the chat feature below here on Zoom. Our moderator tonight will be sure to have your questions answered with our guest speakers. If you wish to interact directly, feel free to use the raise your hand function on Zoom and you'll be asked to unmute when the time comes. We are so proud to present to you today our next installment of Ascari at Home Wine Dinner Series. Tonight's event, All Roads Lead to Burgundy, is an amazing collaboration with Gibson Family Group, Domaine Françoise André, and of course, Ascari Hospitality Group. Gibson Family Group is the first female-driven wine agency in North America, and the featured house tonight in Burgundy is also run by women. Before I officially hand it over to our featured guests for the evening, I would like to introduce to you the founder of Gibson Family Group. I can attest to the fact that she is something of a legend in both the hospitality and wine industry. Her career spans over 20 years as she has successfully opened trendy hotspots in Toronto and in LA. A longtime sommelier and one of the first Canadian female somms, Leslie has embarked on the highlight of her career with Gibson Family Group, creating a home for her wine angels. With every producer embraced and every wine hand selected, it is her goal to share her passion with those she meets, expanding her wine family along the way. GFG combines Leslie's many years of experience with her personal touch, love for service, and interest in exceptional wine. The GFG portfolio started with her love for Burgundy wine, and she is a firm believer that all roads do in fact lead to Burgundy. Everyone, please meet the lovely Leslie Gibson.
Thanks, Kathleen, and a warm hello to everyone who has joined us tonight. I've been counting down the days to this dinner, and I just wanted to express my gratitude and admiration for the entire team at Ascari. You guys have been a dream to work with, and I'm thrilled to share my love for Burgundy and for this beautiful producer with you all tonight. So hello, enjoy, and back to you, Kathleen.
Thank you, Leslie. So on to our main event. Tonight's discussion will be moderated by Ascari Hospitality Group's executive chef and co-owner. John has been cooking since the late 90s and spent the better half of 3 years working at venerable restaurants in New York City, including La Caravelle and Kraft, before his return back to Toronto in 2003. John and his owner counterpart, Erg Joyal, have been proprietors in the Toronto restaurant scene since 2005, opening 9 unique venues and concepts to date. Angela Aiello, also known on social as Super Wine Girl, is an on-air host, educator, and journalist. She believes that wine is truly endlessly fascinating, and she loves to cook and experiment in the kitchen. She was able to meet tonight's guest of honor in Burgundy on her very first trip with Leslie back in 2019, and her story and wines inspired her. Angela loves the complexity and elegance of Burgundian wine and even has a glass of Chardonnay tattooed on her arm. Fun fact. And finally, Domaine Françoise André is a Burgundian winery founded in 1983. It is situated at the foot of the centuries-old Beaune ramparts. The estate spans over the Côte du Beaune, home of the famous hill of Courton. The vineyards are led today with tonight's guest of honor, Lauriane André, at the helm, who pours her passion for wine and love of the grape into every bottle, every pour, and into every sip. Certified organic, each village, Première Cru, and Grand Cru vineyard produces exceptional juice. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the discussion tonight. Thank you all for tuning in and for your continued support. Take it away, Chef John.
Thank you very much, Kathleen, for the lovely setting of the stage, introductions. I hope everybody's enjoying their meal and the instructions were clear and you got the beautiful food on the plate in time for this discussion. I'm super excited because there's so many legends in female winemaking on the call, and it's such a pleasure and change of pace from sometimes our normal discussions. It's awesome. So welcome, Leslie, welcome, Angela, and of course, welcome, Lauriane and Nicolas from Françoise André. I have so many questions to ask about the wine. I think that what we're gonna do is start with the white and talk about the first course. And I'll talk about why I chose to put the plate food in front of everybody I did tonight. Unfortunately, we couldn't ship it to France, so Nicolas and Lauriane are not able to partake. But I'll talk about it because really I'm interested when I pair wines in complementing, of course, but trying to hit on similar notes on the plate that I tasted the wine. So in this wine, this beautiful white Burgundy from Touet-Boeuf, I tasted a lot of salinity and minerality, and I tried to put that on the plate and provide also some fresh flavors because of the time of year. So it's baby zucchini, marinated baby zucchini with a beautiful fresh herb dressing, some ricotta salata, which is a really sharp, like crumbly Italian. It's a fresh cheese that's just been salted and hung. And then also finished with, of course, white anchovies, one of my favorite ingredients. And if I compare white Burgundy with white anchovies, I will 7 days a week. So that's really the thought about it. But what I loved about this wine was how mineral driven it was and how kind of stony it was on the palate. Lauriane, can you talk about the terroir of this particular wine and what in the soil is driving those flavors in the wine?
Thank you, Chief. Good evening, everybody. I'm very pleased to be here tonight. So I can tell you perhaps few words about the vineyard. So originally, this vineyard was only planted in Pinot Noir. And we decided to plant it 22 acres of Chardonnay. So we were the first to do Chorel-les-Beaune white in Burgundy, in fact. The vineyard is 36 years old, and the soil is clay. The 2017 vintage was met with an unanimous show of satisfaction from the north of Burgundy to the south, because in 2016 we had a big frost. So 2017 was more generous, and the grapes were healthy, and the harvest started in the 29th of September. We see the color of the wines. There is a nice gold pale color. Ripe lemon, golden apple, and green pear, follow by white flowers like lily flavor. It's soft and round in the palate with crisp and mineral finish and grilled almond character. I think with the starter the chiefs created for you tonight, it's a perfect match because the acidity and the crispiness of the wine will be fantastic. With the green crunchy vegetable, the anchovy will bring some satiness and oidian flavor that goes as very well with the wines. And the wine is as well a great way to start a meal as an aperitif with little canapé, such as salmon glavlasks with blinis. And perhaps just few words about the good temperature for the white Burgundy. Wine is between 12 and 14 degrees. It looks high, but it's the temperature where you will get all the aroma of the wines. But never forget that you should drink the wines with the temperature you appreciate. In fact, it's your pleasure first.
Amazing. That a great description. Thank you. I mean, I think it hits it on the head. I love this kind of wine as aperitif as well, and I love the idea of salmon and blinis, and gravlax and blinis is beautiful. Glenn is asking us, Florian, where are you joining us from tonight? Where are you in the world? Oh, Florian?
So, sorry, I'm where I am.
Yes, where are you?
I'm actually I'm in Beaune. It's
You're
the
in Beaune. Oh,
in Beaune, in my kitchen, in my house, because it's it's quarter past 1 o'clock in the night, so everybody is sleeping in my house. And Beaune is the capital of the Burgundy wines, and the estate is also in the old rampart of Beaune.
Amazing, Lorianne. Thank you for staying up late. We really appreciate it. Hopefully you're not too tired tomorrow morning. Everyone here in Toronto is very grateful. Angela, you want to talk about your thoughts on this wine, in particular this vintage?
Sure. I mean, I think after a generous vintage in Burgundy, I mean, vintages in Burgundy is something I really did want to talk about, because I know 2020 has been very challenging. But the one thing about Burgundy that I think we all need to remember is it's such a small production. I think the reputation of Burgundy, outseeds its quantity of wine. And so the wines that you do taste from this region, I mean, they are extremely special. And when I was in Burgundy and in Beaune, I just remember having this sort of out of body experience. Like, I've been in wine for 20 years and had never actually been to the birthplace of where the monks really, optimized and perfected Pinot Noir. And I think that's what makes Burgundy so special too. It was formed by the monks. The Pinot, has been part of that story for so long. And so this vintage to me has so much great balance to it. And I love that we paired some interestingly rustic food flavors with this rusticity of Chardonnay. Because even though you're getting much fruit and floral, I mean, there's some minerality and that earthiness that comes through on this Chardonnay, which is what makes it so incredibly great. I mean, this is definitely, there's a difference between old world Chardonnay and new world Chardonnay, and you can taste it in the glass. And that old world sort of funk comes through with such elegance. I mean, it's not funky. This is not a funky wine, but when I say it, it's kind of got this like Chardonnay with a little bit of grit. And I love that because it's pretty, but it's also lovable, in a way that I really do enjoy.
Yeah, amazing way to put it. I love the word grit. I think that it is elegant and pretty, but it's got some oomph to it as well. And yeah, I remember being in Burgundy and in Beaune and just being stunned by the rooftops and the gorgeous buildings, and then driving quickly through the vineyards and realizing, holy cow, like you're standing in one domain, you throw your keys over a short wall and you're in another one, and the wine tastes completely different, like literally like a soccer field away from the other one. Can you speak to why the micro areas of like these appellations are so close together yet have such different characters? Maybe Leslie, you want to take that one?
I mean, you know, every time I've gone there, it's always been a new learning experience, and it's an actual wonder. It's not even a soccer field sometimes; it's literally like 2 steps over. And
Yeah.
the last time we were there, you know, Nicola, a great friend, sort of gave us this sort of understanding. It's all about slopes and sun and exposure and soil, and it's incredible how, you know, 2 feet away, a Chardonnay will taste completely different. It's a wonder to go to. It's so hard to explain until you are actually there and can see it. And yeah, it's really eye-opening for sure. It's incredible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Lorianne, I was reading up on the genesis, like the birth story of your winery, and I was very fascinated with the way in which the land parcels that were purchased were chosen. Can you speak to the elevation, the selection of parcels, where you grow your grapes, and why those parcels were chosen?
I will tell you a few words about the history of the estate, because in fact the parcel were bought by my in-laws, and in fact it all began in 1983. My father-in-law, who was accountant, drank a glass of Savigny-les-Beaunes Premier Cru White to one of his customers, and he totally fell in love with this terroir. And he said, if one day he would have the opportunity to buy a vineyard of this terroir, he will do it. And the opportunity took place in 1983. And as my parents-in-law were not wine growers and winemakers, they gave the management of the estate to one of their friends, who was Sylvain Pitiot, and after Comte Senard and his daughter. And in fact, my in-laws had 3 sons. The first one, Frédéric, who is notary. The second one, Rodolphe, who is working as a director in a sales sector, and Thierry, the best one because he's my husband, who is also accountant like his father. And my parents-in-law believed that one day Rodolphe, the second one, would take the management of the estate. So from 1983 to 2009, they bought different vineyards, and today the estate covers 11 hectares in the Côte de Beaune, and it was for the acquisition of the vineyard. In fact, when they fell in love with the terroir, and they try after to buy the vineyard, but it's a question of loving a terroir, basically. In fact.
Yeah, great. I love the story and the context. It's so lovely to hear how things got started and how it continues in the family. Let's move on to the red. I think I'm about to open it up and pour it in my own glass. Like talk about this Pinot, in particular, this piece of land, and what kind of character should we expect in the glass?
So for the Chauray-les-Beaunes 2015, in fact the vineyards is bigger than the Chauray-les-Beaunes white, because the vineyard covers 1 hectare, 28 acres, and it is the biggest vineyard of the estate. The soil is also clay, and the vineyard is 35 years old. I must tell you that 2015 was a fabulous vintage in Burgundy, a sunny vintage with beautiful grape during harvest time. And the wine journalist said that it's one of the great vintage of the century. And it's very difficult to find 2015 vintage in the market now. So we are very lucky, thanks to Gibson family group, to have the chance to taste wines of 2015 vintage. So the color, we started the harvest in the 1st of September, though it was early. And what we can say about the color is ruby red. Cherry, blackberry, jam flavor, cedar. I think it's super savory, herbal and earthy, and there is a good acidity with smooth tannins, and we tried during our winemaking process to do soft tannins. It's very important for us not to have very hard tannins, and the Pinot Noir, you know, it's a finesse cepage, and we try to do some smooth tannins. I think that with this wine will be great on its own, but it will be even greater with the leg of lamb of the chief, with his very delicate cooked meat with the sour sherry that will bring you back to the wine. And the good temperature for the Burgundy wine, red wine, is between 15 and 16 degrees. It looks low, but it's the temperature where you will get all the aroma of the wines. And as Leslie said before, if you like this wine, don't hesitate to taste the Savigny-les-Beaunes 2015, which is a single vineyard, and it's 500 meters away with the same vintage and vinification of the Chauray, but the terroir is totally different, and it is the magic of the Burgundy. Very close, but very different in terms of the terroir, which what Bourgogne is about.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad people are commenting that they like the cherries with the wine. For me, I thought the sourness really brought out the fragrance in the wine, and I got a touch of spice when I tasted the wine too, which I thought, which is why I kind of went with the lamb and the marjoram and the orange peel in the Gremolata. I really thought, and the reason I thought lamb was going to do well with this is because Ontario lamb is very delicate, very gentle. It's not like Australian or New Zealand lamb. It's a much more delicate and kind of austere flavor. So I thought it was going to be a good pairing. I'm happy people are enjoying it. I particularly loved it. I mean, I love all the layers in this wine, from the grippiness, the soft tannins, to slight bit of spice and fragrance. Is really, really beautiful, and it's so long, and it so fills your mouth so lovely. It's really great. A couple questions about what tuer boeuf means. Kill the killed a bull. Can you explain why this wine is called that?
It's a little bit technical because tubelf mean kill beef. It's not kill bill, huh? It's kill beef because originally there was a slaughterhouse in this place. Slaughterhouse, you understand? I'm very sorry. It's not very sexy, but this is. But this is the explication of the tubelf.
Cool. I mean, I love that. It's super interesting. And sometimes, yeah, the names aren't sexy; they're just the truth.
Yes, it's the truth.
That's great. I mean, a couple of shout outs. I'm seeing comments, people saying that many people had their honeymoon in Burgundy. 2 different people on the chat said that 26 years ago, 27 years ago, they honeymooned in Burgundy. I love that. They didn't go to Vegas. They didn't go to Florida. They went to Burgundy. My kind of people. Fantastic. I mean, Angela, can you talk about this particular domain and other red Burgundies that Lauriane and Francois André make, and how this one stands out in its own way? I mean, this vintage is ridiculous, but I mean, in general, how does this parcel stand out against the rest?
I mean, on the palate for this wine, it's generous. I think there is some, those cherries and that complexity that comes through, and that sort of sweet and sour and spice, to me, is really quite incredible. And I love it. It almost elicits to me immediately kind of like, ooh, umami. Like, I know it's hard to get umami flavors in wine, but this wine seems to have it. And I love that. I think it creates complexity and depth. And that's what Pinot Noir is. It's the most complicated grape in the world. And so, when you're tasting 4 or 5 Pinots back to back, this wine is a ringer. It's a standout wine in so many different ways. And the pairing tonight, I mean, I love lamb with this type of earthy characteristics, the sort of sweet and sour, the umami. I mean, lamb is the perfect way to build it out, and the complexity of the plate, chef, that you've put together. I mean, this is not just lamb. I mean, this is like a very complex, very thorough, thought out plate that every single bite is sort of this, intricate adventure and, parallels, but then you're having this sort of like, oh wow, this is something new every single time you taste it. And so I really do think that this wine, I mean, Burgundy is the place for Jurassic soil. And that's the other thing too. It was underwater a very, very long time ago. And so there's actually ancient fossils that resonate in the terroir of Burgundy. And that's really what helps, I think, come through. And I think Burgundy too, even though the terroir is great, and obviously it has its own, wines, the 2 whites, the 2 reds that are really grown in this region, but it has that human interaction from winemaking that I think really pours your heart into it. And when we were there, I know Lauriane hasn't talked about her switch of where she was before she became a winemaker. And I'd love for her to chat about that, because I think it's an inspiring story of someone who didn't see themselves in wine and then boom, became this world-class winemaker. Not boom. I mean, it's been, obviously you spend so much time doing that. Nothing ever happens overnight, but this wine sings to me. It's such a beautiful wine. It's worth every penny. That people say, oh, Burgundy wines are expensive. Yes, but then you taste them and you know why. And I think there's the human parts that go into that. People are handpicking their grapes. These are not mass-produced wine, and so that taste will be so much reflected. And I was talking to someone earlier today about how a fabulous wine, you feel it in your hair, the very top of your head, and you feel it in your toes. And that's how a wine and food experience is so memorable and really well put together, because your whole body experiences it.
I love that. Lauriane, can you speak to how you became a winemaker and what you did before you were making wine?
Yes.
Don't tell me you were an accountant. I don't want to hear that you were an accountant before.
No. In fact, I studied laws, and I was a human resources director in a transport firm. So there was a huge gap between the law and the wines. And my parents-in-law believed that one of their sons will one day take over the management of the estate. And when Rodolphe, the second son, told her, I love the wines, but it's not my aim to take over the management of the estate. They said to their three sons, so guys, what are we doing to do with this estate? And they say that they didn't want to sell the estate, and they asked me, Lauriane, would you like to take the management of the estate? So I was very surprised about their proposition, but after three months of reflection, I said, okay, the challenge is very interested, but I need training and instruction. So during 9 months, I studied the wine growing methods and the winemaking process, because I need to learn about the wines. And moreover, I was not born in Bourgogne, but in Lyon. And in my family, it was a little bit sad, because drinking wine was not an habit. We opened bottle just for special occasions, such like birthday, Christmas. But when I met my husband, I fell in love with the Burgundy man, and also with the Burgundy wines. And I discovered, in fact, another way of living about the wines and all the magic of the product. I just want to add something. We talk about the terroir, which is very, very, very important in Bourgogne, because when we are wine grower, winemaker, the things which is the most important is to let, when we're doing the winemaking process and the aging, is to let the terroir express itself. And in fact, our wines, when I took over the management of the estate, we changed our wine growing method into organic one. It was very important for us to improve the quality of the wines. And so we didn't use in actually chemical products. So we put life, in fact, again in the soil. We revive the soil and the terroir to promote insects and worms activity, to aerate the soil, so that the roots of the vineyard are going deeper to reach this famous terroir. So for us, it was very important to have this certification to reach the terroir, well, by the roots of the vineyards. It was the best way for us to let the terroir express itself.
Yeah, I love the fact that you understood that the surface clay was not all there was to your vineyards, that if you go deep enough, you're getting to the stone that is Burgundy, and that's what's going to add the character. I mean, I'll tell you, as a restaurateur, we buy a lot of wines, and we, hear a lot these days about natural wines and no manipulation, and it's very de rigueur to talk about. We didn't touch it. We just left it in the clay tank and let it go, and there's all oxygenated. Burgundy is a place that, what I found, and I'd like you to speak to this, where the wine is an expression as much of the terroir as it is of the personality of the winemakers. And for me, that doesn't make it less pure. In fact, I love that. And I love people. So I want to taste what people want to do. I don't just want whatever the natural yeast and whatever molds form in the wine do. I'm really more interested in why someone chose to make certain decisions at different points in the winemaking process. So I'm curious to know, when you're making decisions with every vintage on what to do with the wines, who are you using for advice? Who are you bouncing ideas off of when you're making wines? Like, do you have your in-laws around and your husband, or do you have mentors in Burgundy? Who helps you, like when you need to make difficult decisions during the winemaking process with each vintage? How do you come to those decisions?
In fact, when I took over the management of the estate, I was very lucky because I meet Jérôme Després, who is the winemaker also of our estate, and he had an experience in Côte Chalonnaise before coming in our estate. And I was very lucky to meet Jérôme because I think he's a very talented winemaker, but he likes to share his passion for wines and also his experience and knowledge for the wines. And I was very lucky to meet him because he learned me a lot of things about the wine. And I must confess that at the beginning, he was very courageous to accept to work with a blonde hair girl. We did not know a lot of things about the wines, but we make the winemaking process together. We are very lucky also to like the same wines, so it's more easily during the winemaking process. The thing which is very important for me is to taste every day your wine during the winemaking process, and you adapt the things you do the wine when you taste. The first things is to taste and to let the terroir express itself. And you know what is very challenging, I think now in our job is with the climate change, which with each vintage we must challenge ourselves because what was relevant last year was not the case the year later. So we every year it's a kind of new year, new vintage for us, and we the first things it's to listen to the vintage and after to make the winemaking process with the typicity, in fact, of the vintage. What I can also say with a decade of experience, if that's in this adventure, I realized that the great luck I had with Jérôme was not to be tied up by years of history. In fact, we were very free to produce. You know, my in-laws gave us only one aim. It was to higher the quality of the wines, and we were very free to produce the style of wines we like, and not the style of a grandfather. So it was a big chance for us in this adventure.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting. You talk about how the tradition didn't hold you down. You were able to go forth with your own style, and you weren't tied to whatever your ancestors had decided to do 100 years ago. That's great. I mean, Leslie, I want to explore a little more the personalities of Burgundy. And when you were choosing, domains to represent here and people you wanted to import and bring to the Ontario market, what drew you to this producer, other than how lovely everyone is, but what drew you to this producer in terms of their style and approach?
When I was over there and decided we were starting this agency, everything was super fast and furious. And I had my other angel on the ground who's actually with us tonight. And we wanted to go out and find some producers that hadn't actually been to Canada. And, for me, it's all about finding, whether you like, you would know if you're putting a wine on your wine list or, it's all about making sure that you've got the best representation and that you feel really good and you have a super connection to it, and the quality is, there. We're so lucky, and this was right before Lorianne's rising star actually got more notable worldwide, that we kind of got right in there, that wonderful, what was it, Angie, in May or June, and got to meet this woman. And from the moment we walked in and tasted every single wine and every single vintage, like, I have to tell you, we're drinking her Chory Les Bons, which are like stunning, but this woman will take you on a journey through Burgundy, all the way through with her Semi Le Bon and her Premier Cruise and her Corton Charlemagne, which obviously a lot of people, know about King Corton. So yeah, it was, it's like when you're looking for you meet your friends, or you meet those people that you just have an instant connection with. And it was like that as soon as we set eyes on Lorianne, and also more importantly, tasted her wines. And Ange and I were there together, and we just knew immediately that it was like we found like a well-kept secret that we couldn't wait to share. So and just a big shout out, which I don't know if I'm allowed to tell, but Lorianne has just been voted top 10 new generation Burgundian winemakers, which is huge. So that is quite an accolade, and we're just, like I said, we just got onto we just found this rock star before she played at what is it, Matt? Oh gosh, I can't even remember the last time I went to a concert, but a very big venue.
Madison Square Garden. How about
that? That's what I was looking for. So anyway.
That's amazing. Congratulations, Lorianne. Well deserved, obviously. I mean, if people have questions, throw them in the chat. We love the comments we're seeing. People are enjoying themselves tonight. I'd like to go back to climate change, Lorianne, because you touched on it and how every vintage seems like a new vintage that you haven't had to deal with before. We've done a few of these dinners with winemakers from around the world. Most recently, we did with Chateau Moussard in Lebanon, and another one in a very, very prominent winemaker in California. And their answers to me when I asked them about what climate change means to their future of winemaking for them were very, very different. And I'm curious to know where you sit. The winemaker for Chateau Moussard, when I said, well, how are you going to change the way you make wine based on climate change? And his answer was, we're purchasing more land at higher elevation to grow wine. And then when I asked the winemaker in California, what are you doing, for the future winemaking? Their answer was, we shouldn't allow climate change to happen. We have to stop it. I'm not buying any more land. That's crazy. And I wonder, being in Burgundy where you can't exactly buy higher up, the hill's only so big, how will you mitigate climate change, or do you just need to embrace it? Like, what are you thinking is going to happen 3-4 years down the road in terms of your winemaking?
It's a difficult for us. The climate change is very difficult to manage. For example, it's very difficult for us to estimate the best date of harvest time each year. 3 decades or 2 decades before, there was only in September between the 1st and the 15th September. And for example, in 2015, we harvest in October, and last year it was the 21st of August. And this year it's look like in the middle of September. So what I told you before is each vintage, we must challenge ourselves because every year is not the same that the year before and the next year. And we must be ready when Mother Nature tells us to be ready. It's very difficult to be more technical. It's very difficult for us to find the best date for harvest time because we try to find the best balance between acidity and
Why you? I don't want to be on.
You don't want to be on?
No.
No, I do.
No, I don't want to be on. I don't want to be on.
Sorry about that, Lorianne. Keep
No,
going.
no. And it's you know, when we try to find the best date for harvest time with Jérôme, when we taste the grapes before harvest time, the grapes are going to the laboratory for scientific analysis. And the analysis tell us you can go for harvest time, but when we taste with Jérôme, the skill is hard. The pépins are green, so we have to taste and every year to wonder the best date of the date of harvest time. And you know, last year we did the harvest the 21st of August, so you can imagine how the grapes were hot when they came in the winery. So a lot of wine grower and winemaker had now tanks in which you can manage the temperature and refroidir the grapes, in fact. So we have every year to adapt sorry, I'm looking for the words. Le matériel aussi, the material of and but it's very, but for me it's very challenging. If the vintage will be the same every year, it will not be fun. It would be a little bit boring for us. So I think the challenge of the vintage every year is very good. But with this climate change, we have another problem also, is that we have the spring frost, because you see also in Canada in March we had beautiful weather, so the vegetation is growing, and after we will have some frost, and is terrible for us. You know, this year at the beginning of April we had the frost, and I think that we lost from 40 to 80% of our production. Wow. Unfortunately. And we put candles during three nights in our vineyards of Grand Cru, but the temperature were so cold, -6 for the Corton Charlemagne, and it's also the climate change.
I mean, it's so challenging, and like you said, you can't use any years in the past as your marker or your guidepost as you move forward. A couple interesting questions I'd like to pose to you, Lorianne. One is, in such a traditional, this is from Glenn, I believe, in such a traditional region like Burgundy, where there's so much history and it's very male dominated, has it been a challenge to be a woman making wine?
I think it was a challenge, perhaps 20 years ago, but now there are a lot of women who take over management of the estate, and I think it's a very good complementarity with the men, because we have another sensibility and perhaps another way to do the winemaking process. So you know, I spoke about Jerome because he is also very important in the estate today, and we are very lucky to do the winemaking process together. And I think that we are when we are two, we are more clever. I think that just when we are just one people. And perhaps I think also that women are have a good sense of organization when they are in the head of an estate, because they have also their wife and mother life, and they manage a lot of things, and they need to be organized for all the planning of the family, and 24 days 24 hours a day for the work and the family life is not enough. So we have to be very good organized.
Well, we are definitely richer for it, for sure. Liz asked the question, she bought the Savigny Le Bon. She wants to know how the two wines compare to each other.
The two vineyards of the Chauray Le Bon and the Savigny Le Bon are not far from each other. It's only 500 meters, but
oh wow!
But the terroir is totally different, and the vineyard of Savigny is 80 years old. It's a very old vineyard, so there is a beautiful concentration in this wine, and because the yield is not a lot, and you have also perhaps more complexity in the Savigny than the Chauray, and some spicy notes. And for me, it's a very beautiful wine for cooking. It will be very good for you also, Chief John. And
I tasted it. It is an incredibly food-friendly wine. You're right.
Yes, the Chauray, you can also drink the Chauray only in aperitif, but the Savigny you need to eat with. But voilà, it's one of my favorite wine in our.
I love it. Yeah, 500 meters apart, only in Burgundy. Does that make such a huge difference? Leslie, we only have 5 minutes left or so on the clock. I'd like to throw it to you so you can let everyone here on the call know, how do you get your hands on these wines?
It's super easy, and thanks for throwing it back, John. Listen, it's we're really fortunate. We have a really wide range of Lorient's wines. We do have a little bit left of the 2015s, which, like Lorient said, is like a vintage exceptional. So yeah, reach out. You guys have my email, my card. You can DM us on Instagram. You can stalk us on our website. I mean, you know, we're there, and we would love to and buy online as well in our new GFT shop. So yes, we would love to bring Lorient's wine into your home.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to be carrying some of these on our lists as well. And if you don't want to buy by the case, you can buy on our website by the bottle, which is unique. It's amazing opportunity, which is crazy in only in 2021 have you been able to do that. But yeah, Angela, can you give us some final remarks about the whole experience tonight and the wines we're drinking?
Oh, I mean, I think I speak for everyone when I say like all roads do lead to Burgundy in a way. And I feel like, you know, at the beginning of the pandemic, when I thought the world was ending, I thought, what have I not discovered enough of? And Burgundy was that place. And so I think the complexity and depth of this region is undeniable for all of us. You have one wine from one vintage, it's different from another wine to another vintage to another producer from another terroir. I mean, it's consistent adventure in this one small little place. You can say that about a lot of regions, I think, but I think, you know, from a classic, you know, I don't think any master sommelier or wine enthusiast is gonna, you know, tell me that I'm wrong when I say Burgundy is one of the most complex, deep, and challenging wine regions to learn about. So, you know, I always learning about France is easy, and then learning about Burgundy is like a different world. So it is a whole nother level of wine enthusiasm, I think, that comes into it. And these wines are, Leslie, you make it easy because you guide us through this Burgundian journey that, you know, we don't have to feel so daunted by. And I think many of us kind of go, oh, this region, I don't know where to start. What am I drinking? What are these reasons? I don't understand the words. You know, there's so many things about Burgundy that can feel overwhelming. And so this small little segment tonight, I think, is just a snippet of sort of a way to get into Burgundy without having to think of it being too expensive or daunting or overwhelming. I mean, it's a place where, you know, there's friendly faces, there's wonderful wines, there's approachable price points, and there's a lot of exclusivity. And so I think the one thing that I did have somebody chat with about were the corks at the very beginning. And I remember earlier I wanted to talk about the corks, and so we're down to our last couple of minutes, but I wanted to talk about the corks because everybody's just sort of, I think, very surprised at what they might have looked like, how they were taking them out, and they had any questions. So I'll flip it back over to Lorianne to talk quickly about her choice of corks, because I think that's also really important as we talk about the modern Burgundy. You know, there's a lot of classical and tradition within Burgundy, but now we're seeing this sort of Renaissance period coming into Burgundy. I think that's quite exciting. So thank you so much, John, for creating this incredible menu. I think the pairings are astronomically amazing. And these wines are just, this is a highlight of my, at least the last 6 months. So, I mean, thank you so much.
Oh, I mean, it's a pleasure. I mean, it was not hard work making this menu. It was a ton of fun. This is why I do what I do. There's a lot of parts of my job that I'm like, oh, okay, got to get up in the morning. But these kinds of things are why I got in the biz. I love it. I love meeting new winemakers. And I'll tell you what I love about this wine, and the cork speaks to it, Lorianne. You have to explain why you chose this cork, but I think it shows that Burgundy might be the place in the world that is most rooted in tradition. At the same time, there's a ton of forward-thinking people. There's a ton of fresh faces and bright new ideas, and we have to welcome those and we have to embrace them. And I think that the approachability of these wines, and that not every wine made in Burgundy is a hold. A lot of them are drink now, and that's cool too. And that makes it a lot more approachable. So Lorianne, we'll leave the last words of the night to you. Please speak to the cork and tell us about your optimism for the future of winemaking in Burgundy.
So our cork, I think that the cork will be always a debate in the wine process. And with our cork is the technical cork, and which is very important for us with that cork is you have no problem of cork and wine, and also you have a constance between all the wines. I mean, you tasted tonight the Chorel-les-Beaunes 2017, and you say, oh, the bottle is empty. We will bring. We will ask Leslie to have another bottle, and you will have the same wines, which is not the case for the other cork. So it was, you know, I had my mobile ringing with a customer who told me I have a problem with the cork of the wines. It's a security for us, And also, you know, when I am in the restaurant and when I order a wine and there is a corked wine, I'm a little bit, I mean, disappointed. No, it's not déçu. And with this type of cork, you will have no problem. And for keeping the wines, it is very good also. And especially also the technical cork for going far in the world, like in Canada, it's a big security for us. You know, when I made I'm very trust on this cork, because when I did wine tasting, I never tasted the wines before. So I totally trust of this cork, and I'm very happy to work with this cork. It's a very good cork for us.
I love it. I mean, as Glenn said in the chat here, and the best part is you can still use your corkscrew and it behaves like a traditional cork, which is amazing. And I've never seen one before, and I was like, what's this? And I took it, I'm like, this is awesome. And if you flip it over, put it back in, it works like a regular cork to reseal the wine. It's amazing. So great to introduce us to that. I want to shout out a special thank you to the Gibson Family Wine Group, Leslie, Angela, the whole team, because it's been such an incredible pleasure to work with them. A lot of work goes into these things. You can imagine here at Ascari Hospitality Group, our team, Kathleen, our director of events, who's on the call tonight, introduced like the amount of legwork, the deliveries. We have a logistics person, we have our chefs who make all the food and package it. So much time and effort goes into bringing the experience into your home. We're super grateful that you joined us this evening, and we really hope to see you on future events, but also on our patios, like Kathleen said. Book us for events. We can come into your home now for 10 people. You know, in the fall, we're taking bookings for indoor and outdoor events. So don't be afraid. If you like what you tasted and what you saw, what you drank tonight, there's more where that came from. and we're ready to rock and roll again, putting COVID behind us. But we're actually grateful for COVID in a sense that we're able to connect with people in a very, very different way than we used to. These kinds of events have been very useful for us in terms of rejigging how we approach our hospitality. And it's great, Lauriane, to meet you and Nicolas from France. I can't wait to visit you in Burgundy. I can't wait to walk with my partner through the vineyards and experience like what Burgundy means again. I'm dying for it. It's been about 15 years since I've been in Burgundy, which is way too long. So we're coming. Get ready. Get the lamb ready. Get the wine ready. We're coming. Don't just open one bottle. Okay. We're going to party. We're going to party. Thank you so much to everybody on the call, everyone who participated, everyone who gave us questions, especially Leslie, Angela, Lauriane, and Nicolas. Thank you so much. Guys, we'll see you next time at Ascari at Home. Please go to Gibson Family Wine Group to their online shop and purchase some of these wines. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening. Cheers. Santé.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
All roads lead to Burgundy. Ascari forever.
Santé.
Yes, we are waiting for you. We are waiting for you. Bye-bye. Cheers.
Me. I'll tell you when I'm coming.
Bonne nuit.
Bonne nuit. Get some sleep.
Cheers, everybody.
Bonne nuit.
Bonne nuit.
Merci.
Bonne nuit. Bonne nuit.